Today we're going to be looking at section 5.3, which is on adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. So a lot of this we've talked about before with just foiling or adding like terms, but we're going to talk about polynomials in general today and some larger polynomials that we've talked about. So we're going to do this in two different ways. Example one, we're going to do add these polynomials vertically and horizontally. Now, when you get to your assignments, it doesn't matter which way you do it. I don't care if you add vertically, I don't care if you add horizontally, as long as you pick one of the methods that you like doing better. So, add polynomials vertically. So we're going to add 4x cubed plus 4x squared minus 3x plus 10. So if we do it in a vertical format, we have to line up all of these. So we're going to add, and so we have negative 5x cubed goes in that, minus 2x squared, minus 4x, and minus 4. So essentially, we're going to take these and we're going to add the ones up. Notice we have x cubes in this column, x squareds, x's, and our constants. So what's 4 plus negative 5? And that's negative 1 x cubed. 4 plus negative 2 is 2x squared. Negative 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7x. And then 10 plus negative 4 is 6. So here is the answer when we add these up. So that is using the vertical format. Erase this so we can see the bottom there. Then the next is going to be the horizontal format. So if we rewrite these, we're going to have 2x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 plus 3x cubed minus 4x squared minus 1x minus 7. And using this method, we're just going to add our like terms. So since this is a plus sign, I don't really need any of these parentheses, so I'm going to add my like terms up. So 2 plus 3 is going to be 5x cubed. Then we're going to have our x squared terms. So it's going to be 2 plus negative 4, which is negative 2x squared. Here we're going to have our negative 3x and our negative 1x, which is negative 4x. And then our constants, we're going to have 5 and negative 7, which is negative 2. So again, two different ways to do the problems. It doesn't matter if you use the vertical or the horizontal format. Some people prefer the vertical. Some people prefer the horizontal. I will typically do the horizontal just because then I don't have to rewrite those numbers down. But there's two different methods. Again, we're going to now talk about multiplying, or actually subtracting these polynomials. And again, we're going to do the same type of thing. We're going to do it once vertically, once horizontally, just to show you the difference, and then let you decide which method you want to use. So it says subtract this from that number. So we're going to have 3x squared plus cubed plus 4x squared plus 7x plus 12 minus, we have negative 4x cubed plus 6x squared plus 9x minus 3. So now we subtract those. 3x cubed minus negative 4x cubed is 7x cubed. 4x squared minus 6x squared, negative 2x squared. 7x minus 9x is negative 2x. And 2 minus negative 3 is plus 5. So here is the answer for that one. That's using the vertical format. Again, we're going to use the horizontal format. It says subtract this from that one. So the 3y squared minus 4y plus 7 has to go first, minus 6y squared minus 6y minus 13. Okay. And again, if you want to change this into a addition, you would have to take the distributive property here, here, and here to make all of those sign changes. Or you could also just simply do that as you go through. So it's going to be 3y squared. Well, I'm going to change them. 3y squared minus 4y plus 7 minus 6y squared plus 6y plus 13. Because now all I have to do is put the like terms together. So if we look at our y squared terms, here they are. 3y squared minus 6y squared is negative 3y squared. And then our y terms, we have negative 4y and 6y, which is plus 2y. And then our constants, 7 and 13, which is plus 20. So there are the answers for those. And we did one in the vertical format, one in the horizontal format. You can use whichever you prefer to use. So go ahead and do questions 1 and 2 in the guided practice. So add those up. Hit pause in the video until you're ready. When you are ready, go ahead and hit play. And there are your answers to questions 1 and 2. Now, if you'll notice there, I did the horizontal format in both of those problems. Again, you can use the vertical or the horizontal format, whichever you prefer. Next, we're also going to talk about multiplying. And we're going to, again, set these up in a vertical and a horizontal format. So the first one we're going to do in vertical, 3x squared plus 3x plus 5. And then times 2x plus 3. We're going to do this exactly like you used to do long division, or sorry, multiplication of two numbers. So we're going to start by taking the 3 times everything in the top. So that's going to be 15 plus 9x plus 9x squared. Then we're going to put a 0 for our placeholder, and that's going to give us 10x and a 6x squared and a 6x cubed. All right, so now what we would do is we would add these up. I ran out of space there, so I'm just going to write it over the other side. So it's going to be 6x cubed plus 15x squared. We're just adding up the columns, plus 19x plus 15. Okay, and obviously this would go down here underneath that. So that's using the vertical format. Using the horizontal format, again, we would just write them like we would. And here, what we're going to end up doing is using the distributive property. So I would take the x times here, here, and here, and that's going to give us x cubed minus 2x squared plus 3x. And then I would also do the same thing with the 5, with the negative 5. Take it times here, here, and here, and that's going to give us negative 5x squared plus 10x minus 15. And then we just add our like terms up. And again, from here, you could then move this into a vertical format if you wanted to. But again, I'm going to use a horizontal format just because now I don't have to rewrite it. So it's going to end up being x cubed minus 7x squared plus 13x minus 15. And so here is the answer that we should get if we use the horizontal format. Now the next example, example 4, is if we have 3 binomials. Okay, so we're going to have to multiply all 3 of these numbers. Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is FOIL 2 of them. So I'm just going to leave the third one there for now. So if I go, it's going to be x squared minus x plus 1 times x plus 2. I'm going to get x squared minus 2x plus 1 times x plus 2. So now we have a binomial and a trinomial. And so we're going to do the exact same thing we just did on the last problem. And again, you can use a vertical format. You can use a horizontal format. It doesn't matter. I'm going to use the horizontal format. And I'm going to take the x times all 3 of those. So that's going to give us x cubed minus 2x squared plus x. And then I'm going to also take the 2 times everything. So that's going to give us 2x squared minus 4x plus 2. Add your like terms up. 2x squareds disappear. We get x cubed minus 3x plus 2. And there's the answer to that. So again, when we multiply 3 binomials, we're just going to FOIL 2 of them, and then we're going to use a distributive property to multiply the third one, or you can use the vertical format as well. So once again, we're going to talk about the special product patterns. Now, the first 2 are ones we talked about in chapter 4. Okay, the sum and difference of squares. Okay. So if we had a plus b times a minus b, that's going to be a squared minus b squared. Now, what we did is we took this answer in chapter 4 and we went the other direction. We factored them. A squared minus b squared, it's the difference of squares goes to a plus b times a minus b. So we're just going the other direction here. So if we have x plus 4 times x minus 4, that's going to be, well, x squared minus 16. Because if we would do this, we would see that the first gives me x squared, the outsides is negative 4x, the insides is plus 4x, and then it's minus 16. So it's going to be x squared minus 16 would be your answer. The only time those outsides and insides will cancel out is if those 2 parentheses are the same with opposite signs. The sum and difference of squares. Notice that middle one is double multiplying those 2 together. So here, it's going to be y squared plus 3 times y is 3y times 2 is 6y. And so that's what we get on that one. Now, if you're not sure how to do these square of the binomial or whatever, you can simply multiply them by foiling. You could write this as y plus 3 times y plus 3 and FOIL them. If that is easier for you, if you don't understand what these patterns are, do it that way. You will get the right answer. It'll take you quite a bit longer, but you will get the right answer, which is more important than getting it fast. So the next one, again, we're going to here square the first term. So you have 2z squared. So if we square that, 2 squared is 4, z squared is z to the 4th. So we have 4z to the 4th. Now multiply the insides. Okay, that's going to be this part of it. Well, that's going to give us negative 10z squared. And then you have to double it. So that's going to be minus 20z squared. And then you square the last term. Well, negative 5 squared is 25, so it is plus 25. So we're going to have 4z to the 4th minus 20z squared plus 25. All right, and the cube of a binomial. This is one that you're probably going to want to make sure that you know. And again, if you don't know these formulas or don't memorize them, and I wouldn't, put them on your note card. Okay? Especially the cube of a binomial. So here's how this works. We have a plus b cubed, and that's going to equal this. Well, here's what you're going to do. Look at the first term, which is a. So in this case, it's x, so that's going to be x cubed. Then you're going to take 3 times, so it's going to be plus 3 times a squared, well, that's the first term squared, times the second term, which is what we have there. And the third one, the third term, we're going to take 3 times the first term, which is x, times the second term squared, which is 2 squared, and then plus the last term cubed. Well, that's 2 cubed. Okay, so that gives us x cubed plus 6x squared, That's going to be plus 12x plus 8. So there would be our answer for that one. X cubed plus 6x squared plus 12x plus 8. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. First term cubed, b cubed. And then notice here, we're going to have a negative sign for the second and the third terms. So it's going to end up being minus 3 times p squared times negative 3 plus, well, we can put a plus in there right now, but when we get to the end we'll look at what that means. And then we're going to have plus 3 times, it's going to be p times negative 3 squared plus, and then it's going to be negative 3 cubed. So this is going to be p cubed minus 9p squared plus 27p minus 27. And again, notice we had negative sign here, negative sign here is the second and the fourth terms. All right, so let's look at example 5. And this is on finding the product of the binomial. So once again, we're going to use these three properties we just talked about. Notice they're the same. FOIL, 25y cubed. Sorry, 25y squared. I don't need to do the outsides and the insides. I know they're going to cancel out. So this one is going to be minus 9. Shortcut method on this one. Square the first term. 16a squared. Multiply those two together. That's 28a. Double it. That's 56a. And then square the last term. All right, and the third one. We're going to go m cubed n cubed. That's the first one. And it's going to end up being minus, well, it's going to be 6 times 3, which is 18. So it's negative 18 m squared n squared. Then we're going to go 3 times, well, 6 squared is 36. So 3 times 36 is 108. So plus 108 mn. And then negative 6 squared is 216, so minus 216. So there's the answer to that one. So right now, go ahead and do questions 3, 4, and 5 in the guided practice. You can hit pause and then hit play when you are ready to move on. And there are the answers to questions 3, 4, and 5 in the guided practice. Now we're going to move on to example 6. We're just going to look at the first part of this. It says the new highway markers are placed every 6x minus 6 feet along a stretch of the highway. The total number of markers is represented by x squared minus 3x plus 1. So we're going to write a model for the distance the highway markers should be placed. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to multiply those. X squared minus 3x plus 1 times 6x minus 6. So if we multiply those, find that, we're going to get 6x cubed minus 18x squared plus 6x. If we're taking the 6x and distributing it. Now we're going to take the negative 6 through. So negative 6x squared plus 18x minus 6. And we add our like terms. So we're going to have 6x cubed minus 24x squared plus 24x minus 6. And there is the model for the distance along the highway in which those markers are going to be placed. So again, in section 5.3, we are looking at adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. You may use the vertical format, you may use the horizontal format. It doesn't matter to me which one you should use. as long as you are comfortable when you find the answers for those. So your homework assignment is on page 349.